Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Stage M's production of Sherlock Holmes, The Final Adventure. At this time, we ask that you please silence all cell phones and remind you that recording of any kind is prohibited. Thank you.
Did you hear then?
Who's that?
It's all here in the paper. You want to see?
Say what?
He had it coming if you ask me. He made a lot of enemies in his day.
Who are you talking about?
The great detective to blot out of Baker Street.
You mean Holmes?
Here,
You mean Sherlock Holmes?
take a look.
I won't believe it.
It's all there.
Dead and vanished. His body never found.
Right there in black and white.
It's in the papers. Sherlock Holmes. He's dead.
It is with a heavy heart that I take up my pen to write these words about the best and wisest man I have ever known. My friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. It had been 6 months since I had last seen Holmes. Word had it he was living a solitary life amid his books in the rooms on Baker Street. Soon, however, he would undertake the final case in his remarkable career, and I would be there yet again at his side, till the very end. Events began with the arrival of a letter.
Are you Dr. Watson?
Yes.
My dear Watson, it's been far too long since I've had the pleasure of your company. Please join me here at Baker Street tonight. It is a matter of some urgency. I will expect you just before midnight, and I trust it will not trouble you to scramble over the back garden wall and enter through the cellar. Till then, please greet Mrs. Watson for me, and know that I remain very truly yours.
Sherlock Holmes.
My dear Watson, good evening.
Good evening.
Your first question involves the late hour of your arrival, the absence of any servants to see you in, and the need to scurry over my fence like a ferret.
Something along those lines, yes.
All will be answered, dear friend, all in due time. Wedlock suits you, Watson.
It doesn't.
I believe you've put on 7.5 pounds since last I saw you.
7.
Indeed, I think it's just a little more than that.
7 exactly.
What's that there in your pocket?
What? Oh yes, I grabbed this in the garden. The cellar door was quite stuck.
There we are. 7 exactly. Ah, do you hear it, Watson? Do you hear that voice?
It is glorious.
It speaks to me in a sound which is seemingly beyond reason. What I hear in that voice, Watson, is not the fierce precision of music, but the incomparable sound.
Love?
Nonsense. Cigarette, Watson?
No, thank you.
And how long is Mrs. Watson away?
Only for a fortnight. She's visiting. How do you know she's gone?
How do I know anything? How do I know that you've recently resumed the practice of medicine, gone for a long country walk in bad weather, hired a careless servant girl, and moved your dressing table to the other side of the room? Don't look so dumbfounded, Watson.
But how could you surmise
Too
all of
simple
that?
to talk about. There is a bulge in your top hat, where you clearly conceal your stethoscope, not to mention the faint smell of the diaphragm, known antiseptic. Only a dullard would fail to mark you as an active medical man.
Well, yes, but
And
what...
what's more, I've noticed 6 nearly parallel cuts on the inside of your left shoe, where a particularly malignant servant girl has scraped round the edges in a vain attempt to remove encrusted mud.
From my long country walk.
Precisely.
And my dressing table.
Your face is badly shaved on the right side. For as long as I've known you, it's been badly shaved on the left. The light must be better on one side of the room than the other. Since you clearly couldn't move your window, you've obviously moved your dressing table.
Amazing.
Elementary, my dear fellow.
If only I could see what you see.
Oh, you see, Watson. You just do not observe. The distinction is clear.
To you, perhaps.
As clear as the missing waistcoat button and yesterday's rumpled shirt.
My wife is away.
Yes, I know.
There is some trouble on the
Watson,
street.
I must ask you not to go near that window.
I simply wish
I'm afraid I must insist. We're here in secret, you and I. I have sent Mrs. Hudson away
for the evening, certainly.
for the duration. Till the game is ended.
What game is that you're speaking of? Which is it tonight? Morphine or?
I go back to my old love, Doctor. Cocaine. 7% solution. Care to join me?
Certainly not. I had hoped in our time apart that you would stop using these drugs, Holmes.
Yes, Watson, I know.
For once these demons take control of you, there is no end. The terrible ritual must go on and on and on.
Yes, much like the ritual of you eating breakfast must go on and on and on.
That's true, no sustenance. These drugs are poisons. They will destroy you before your time.
Too late for me, Watson. My time has come. Your wife's away for a fortnight, you say?
What? Yes, just a
And your practice isn't busy at present.
No, nothing out of the
Or to
ordinary.
afford you time to get away.
Yes, certainly, if need be.
No, there is a need, Watson. I must ask you to come away with me for a full week to the continent. Will you do that?
Of course I will, but why?
There's a man in London. A great, brilliant, and terrible man. His name is Moriarty. Have you heard of him?
No.
There is the wonder of him. He is insidious, Watson. He virtually pervades all of London. All that is foul and wicked, from Hammersmith to Blackwall, all of it is the work of Moriarty. He is the Napoleon of crime. He sits like a spider at the center of his web. If there is a crime to be committed, a house to be looted, a man to be removed, you can be certain that Moriarty authorized it. And although the agent who carries out the plan may be captured, Master himself never ever leaves a
He
trace.
sounds monstrous.
I quite admire him. He's a professor, author, and abstract thinker. I can highly recommend his treatise on the dynamics of an asteroid.
Still and all.
Without Moriarty, London would be a singularly uninteresting place.
How can you say that?
My days are sterile, Watson. My nights vanish without notice. Audacity and romance seem to have passed forever from the criminal world, save for the grand malevolence of this good professor.
Well, I, for one, am glad that he has met his match.
Oh, my friend, I have met mine. Try as I might for nearly 6 months, proved impossible to secure the necessary evidence to convict Moriarty. Then, he made a slip, just a small one. But from that slip, I began to weave together the various strands of his enterprise, over 40 unsolved crimes, and trace them back to the man himself.
So you have done it, Holmes.
Yes,
You have captured the spider in his own web.
that is precisely what I was thinking as I took my evening stroll, and a pile of bricks came down from a roof and shattered at my feet, missing my head by inches.
Good
And
heavens!
attached to this explosive projectile, a note.
I know you, Holmes. I know every move of your game. You wish to place me in the dark. But I shall never stand in the dark. You hope to defeat me, but you shall never defeat me. You plan night and day for my destruction. But rest assured, I am planning night and day for the destruction of you.
There are two men who share a shadow. Our every move betrays us, one to the other.
So he has not been apprehended.
No. The arrest of Moriarty and his men must be made all at once, all on the same day.
Yes, of course.
And the police require 1 full week to organize the plan. You and I must leave London at once, and not return until the arrest has been made, whereupon we'll follow the greatest criminal trial of the century. The game is afoot, Watson, and it is a dangerous one. Now, for your own safety, you must follow my instructions to the letter. Please make your way out through the pantry and exit by way of the coal chute.
Yes, of course.
And should you change your mind in your marriage and current happiness,
Oh.
I will not hesitate to travel by myself.
I assure you, my mind is made.
Very well. Should be lost without my Boswell, and this may prove a worthy case to document. For if I could rid the world of Moriarty.
What was that?
Go, Watson, do as I told you.
What is the meaning of all of that?
For your own safety, make your escape.
But surely they know that we are...
The lamp, Watson!
Right, but what about the music? Right, but where will we hide that to?
The table!
Right.
Holmes! Sherlock Holmes!
Irene! Irene! I shall need that replaced. Who's there? I might ask the same of you.
I am looking for the great detective, Sherlock Holmes.
Has he been invited to a masquerade?
I sent a note to this address informing Mr. Holmes that I would call.
My landlady is away. The mail has not been collected.
Yes, I know. I found my note on the doorstep.
Since the letter is unsigned, whom might I say came to call?
I am not at liberty to say, but you may tell Mr. Holmes this. My visit concerns the matters that may influence the whole of European history.
By which you mean the House of Ormstein, hereditary kings of Bohemia.
I've said no such thing.
It's all there in your letter. Observe, Watson, the paper.
Quite expensive, I should think.
Stationery of someone extremely well-to-do, and if one holds it up to the light, one can clearly see several letters woven into the fabric of the paper.
The monogram of its author.
Not at all. The G and little t likely stand for Gesellschaft, German for company. The P obviously stands for papier. Now for the EG. I deduce it must stand for Igria, a small German-speaking country in Bohemia known for its glass factories and paper mills.
Astonishing.
So the paper was made in Bohemia.
And the man who wrote the letter is German.
How can you tell?
Note the peculiar construction of the third sentence. This account of your skills we have from all quarters received. It lands on the ear like a boulder. A Frenchman or an Italian could never write this sentence.
You are the man himself.
Only a German could be so uncourteous to his verbs.
You are the great Sherlock Holmes.
And you are Wilhelm Lothrek Sigmund von Ormstein, Grand Duke of Cassel-Felstein, hereditary king of Bohemia.
At your service. Oh, what an honor this is. Your reputation, sir, precedes you.
As does, sir, your Bavarian cologne. My colleague, Dr. Watson.
A pleasure.
I should prefer, Mr. Holmes, to speak to you alone.
You may say before this gentleman anything you wish to say to me.
Yes, but work
It is both or none!
Very well, my case is of the utmost urgency.
Yes, they always are.
In 2 weeks' time, I shall employ Hilda Lothman von Saxe-Meiningen, second daughter of His Royal Highness, the King of Scandinavia.
You have my condolences.
But before I marry, I must put to rest a terrible scandal, a tawdry episode of my past, which threatens to vex this union, and thus the course of nations. You, Mr. Holmes, are my only hope.
And that is very kind, and I will have you know that I have long been a great admirer of the entire Carpathian region.
Thank you.
But due to a matter of comparable urgency in my own life, I am no longer taking cases at present. Now, if you don't mind.
So 'tis true what they say. You are a thinking machine and nothing more.
I beg your pardon.
Is it possible that your heart is so cold, so poisoned by reasons that you cannot hear that voice?
What's that supposed to be?
The scandal of my life involves that voice, that woman, that opera diva par excellence. Her face, beautiful as nature's finest flower.
Do you mean to say that the woman you speak of is Miss Irene Adler?
Indeed she is.
I shall check the index.
Do you know her, Mr. Holmes?
Only from afar. I have long admired her performances.
Though perhaps it's time we met. The facts are these. Some 2 years ago, Miss Adler and I became romantically entangled. During the period of our affair, I wrote to her some very compromising letters, as well as sending her a photograph, which now, as it happens...
As it happens, your royal wedding is pending, and you are desirous of getting these items back.
Precisely.
Application of Assyrian cat, accordions, acrobatics.
Tell me, did you and Miss Adler have a secret pact?
No.
Nothing signed by both parties?
Nein.
Then you have nothing to fear.
But you see, Mr. Holmes, what are the letters I wrote to her?
You simply claim they are inauthentic.
What of my handwriting?
Forged.
My personal stationery?
Stolen.
My private seal?
Imitated.
And the photograph?
Purchased.
But Mr. Holmes, you see...
What I I see, Your Majesty, is that there is no case here. Marry your Scandinavian nymph and think no more of it.
But the photograph is of both of us.
Is it by any chance blurry?
Perfectly clear.
Are the two of you standing apart from one another?
Arm in arm.
Amidst a crowd, perhaps, thrown together on the street?
On the terrace of a remote villa overlooking the sea.
Do you or she, at the very least, look somewhat glum?
We are the very picture of love.
Yeah, there we have some.
There's nothing higher than an adler, nothing whatsoever between actinium and aerodynamics.
The photograph must be recovered.
We have tried and failed.
Well, then it must be purchased.
She won't sell.
Stolen, then.
5 attempts have been made without success.
And Miss Adler, is she aware of your impending marriage?
She has written to send the photograph to my bride's father on the day of the wedding.
Well, this is quite the three-pipe problem.
You won't believe this. It was filed under I for Irene. Right between incandescence and irritability.
How very fitting.
Holmes, I have never known you to index a person under their first name. What could have possibly been the reason?
Clerical error.
But it does
Read the card, Watson.
Adler Irene, born 1865, Sussex, New Jersey, educated abroad, triumphant debut in La Scala in 1887.
Which began her triumphant reign as the foremost operatic soprano in Europe.
Legendary performances in Paris, Berlin, Warsaw, and Milan.
An incomparable Contessa in Figaro.
Unforgettable Marguerite in Faust.
Some retirement from the operatic stage in 1894.
Current whereabouts unknown.
You followed her every move, it seems.
I am familiar with her voice, that is all.
And her face.
What of it?
You've not seen it?
I have her recordings. That is sufficient.
Do you mean to say that you would not recognize her on the street?
Her whereabouts are unknown. It's there on the card.
She is here, Mr. Holmes.
In London.
Brighton Law, Serpentine Avenue, St. John's Wood.
I shall make the necessary corrections. Now, as Holmes involved...
Your wedding is in 2 weeks' time, you say?
That's correct.
Where?
A castle in the Swiss Alps.
Holmes. I require £300 in gold to cover my expenses.
You can't
What
be
is the
serious!
You are to remain completely invisible, staying here in this room, out of sight.
And my wedding plans.
By all means, leave them to your bride. Nothing but agony awaits a man who involves himself in his own wedding.
Holmes, this matter does not require your attention. The king is in no real danger here.
Watson, one of the most dangerous classes on earth is the drifting and vengeful woman. She inevitably inspires in others their own latent criminality.
But we must leave.
Listen to me.
You said so yourself. Think of Moriarty.
I am thinking of nothing more.
Think of the threats on your life.
Watson, time is short. One final adventure is at hand.
Morning arrived and Holmes set off for Briony Lodge with yours truly racing after him. Once there we encountered a man and a woman rushing out the door and into the street. The man was calling for a carriage, and upon securing one, he shouted to the driver.
The Church of St. Monica, and drive like the devil!
Upon which Holmes heard another shouted the very same thing. We reached the church immediately behind them and watched as the man and woman ran inside, whereupon they fell into conversation with a hastily procured clergyman. As we observed these developments in secret from the rear of the church, suddenly a voice rang out.
You there? You'll do nicely. Come up here this instant.
I beg your pardon.
We must have witnesses that won't be illegal.
Holmes was half dragged to the altar and in no more than 3 minutes' time successfully fulfilled the role of witness at the marriage of
Mr. Godfrey Norton?
I do.
and a woman whose face he saw for the very first time when he lifted her veil.
Miss Irene Adler?
I do.
In that face,
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Tell me your wishes, whatever they are.
Take me away.
Oh, you know that I will.
Don't waste a moment. Complete our business and go directly to my home. I'll be waiting for you. Go now. How fortunate, wouldn't you agree? How lucky that you were here.
to which Holmes managed to say, absolutely nothing.
Please, keep this in remembrance of this day.
It was white rose.
Genus Rosa from the prehistoric Germanic of the Latin root, which many scholars scholars believes is derived from the Greek rodon of perhaps Iranian or failing that uncertain origin.
To which Miss Adler said, absolutely nothing.
That face, Watson. It's the face a man would die for.
She has married someone else!
Indeed she has.
I can't bear it.
And please refrain from smashing my things.
And his new husband, who is he?
That is the exact question I posed to Mr. Norton's liveryman today, under the guise of conducting a survey of airborne manure particles in Greater London. Mr. Godfrey Norton is an attorney who met and consoled Miss Adler following her relationship with a certain roguish nobleman. There followed a rapid courtship, bested only by the speed of their nuptials.
And now that she has married someone else, she has no need to blackmail the king, so we can be on our way.
Now, Watson, what if the photograph fell into the hands of her new husband? He too could use it against the king.
That is true. Where could it be? Can't you hazard a guess?
I never guess. It is a capital mistake. Now, is the photograph small enough to be worn as a locket?
No, in fact, it's
Then it
very...
cannot be concealed on her person.
Perhaps she has entrusted it to someone.
No, she is a woman, Watson. Therefore, she is naturally secretive. She must have hidden it somewhere.
somewhere far away.
No, somewhere very nearby. She has told us as much.
How?
She threatened to send it on the day of your wedding, which means it must be somewhere close at hand.
But where?
In her own home, naturally.
But we've had a house burgled a number of times.
The burglars did not know where to look.
And you too.
I suspect her new husband will tell me.
You think he knows?
Certainly not.
How do you even get access to the house? Do you expect we'll just invite you in?
I suspect he will carry me.
Carry you.
Exactly. Excuse me. Oh!
You hooligans! Stay away from here!
Oh!
This way, Father. Let's get you inside.
Don't trouble yourself. Oh!
Here, let me get you a seat.
Oh! Oh, you're too kind.
There we are. I'll call for the maid. Marie, the father shall require a clean handkerchief.
Oh, it breaks apart a clergyman's heart.
Oh, pardon me.
Those ruffians outside grabbed him at an old woman's purse.
You should not have leapt into the fray, Father.
Have the police been called?
There was no need. I dispersed them myself.
But they may wish
Let's
to.
have no more thought of the police.
This is for you, monsieur.
Oh, how awfully good of you.
And may I take your
Oh,
chapeau?
don't trouble yourself. Such a lovely home. Looks to have been in the family for years.
It's my wife's, actually.
Is it then?
As I have just moved in. We're recently married, Father.
Are you now? At the Church of St. Monica's, by chance?
Why, yes, that's right.
Father Murphy presided.
Yes, in fact.
Oh, God bless you, son. If you don't mind a bit of fatherly counsel, in his home, a man must have a place of his own. A place to keep his private things. And his wife must know that come what may, she is never to disturb that place.
Yes, I see your point.
A man's secrets belong only to himself and, of course, to his God.
Yes, of course.
Because no doubt your wife has a place like that. Women always do, and heaven helps the man who chances upon her little pantry of discretion.
Yes, in my wife's case, it's her music cabinet.
You see there?
Yes, it contains her vocal scores and opera recordings, all nicely locked away.
All the better for you that they are. Now tell me, son, when was your last confession?
How are you feeling, Father?
Hanson, much better, take it.
Marie, that's all.
Just finishing up, madame.
I said that is all.
Oui, madame.
Father Hanson, are you familiar with my wife?
I regret to say that I am not.
Godfrey, please.
This remarkable woman was at one time the most celebrated singer in all of Europe,
I see.
until a man she loved dearly broke her heart. She hasn't sung a note since.
What a great loss.
Oh, the world is full of singers, Father. It is your work which truly interests me, to wrestle with the great questions, to confront the mysteries of each soul gone astray, and through cunning and diligence, to solve them. How I envy you that.
Yes, well,
Pray for me, won't you?
So, the whole thing was an act.
The London stage lost a great talent when Holmes devoted himself to the criminal mind.
But also blood.
Just a bit of red paint,
Mixed with proper consistency.
and clapped to his face amidst of the scrub.
And all the young hooligans.
The Baker Street irregulars,
So even the old lady was the purse.
one of ours.
Yes. Takes an enormous amount of planning to create a random event.
2 nights later, under a cloak of darkness, Holmes returned to Briery Lodge to retrieve the photograph. When next we saw him at Baker Street, he stood before us, his face ashen, his eyes fierce with wonder.
Dear
Upon
Mr.
entering the
Holmes,
sitting room, I went immediately to the cabinet. It was unlocked, and once more it was empty. I was about to slam it closed in disgust when I spied something. A small envelope, lying face down at the bottom of the cabinet.
you are as good as promised. Your disguise fooled my husband and the staff. But, knowing the king would only hire the best, I suspected you from the start. One actor can never fool another. As I am not of noble birth, the king thought me unworthy to be his queen and crushed me beneath his boot. Still, I regret nothing. I have no intention of blackmailing him. However, I shall keep the photograph as a safeguard, a weapon against future reprisals. For his part, Mr. Norton loves me for the woman I am, not the woman he wishes me to be. How rare to find that in a man. As you read this note, he and I shall be sailing to America to begin our new life. Though you and I shall never meet again, Mr. Holmes, please know that I will forever remain truly yours.
Irene Adler Norton. I had, in my long career, been bested only 4 times. 3 times by men. Now once, and only once, by a woman.
Oh, what a queen she would have made!
Yes, indeed.
So cunning and resolute. Such bravery of spirit.
Now, if you don't mind,
The finest thing on her bonnet, I shall learn it.
on your
Watson, do you presume that Miss Adler knew I was aware of the photograph's location?
Of course, that's why she left a note for you in the cabinet.
Well, then why would she leave the cabinet unlocked?
She wanted to be certain you would find
But
it.
she would not want anyone else to find it, her husband, her maid.
I take your
And what's more, if she wanted me to find her note, why did she place it face down at the bottom of the cabinet, where I may have missed it altogether?
Perhaps it fell.
So it fell, that is incidental.
The incidental facts are often the most vital, no. I venture to say that at the moment Miss Adler was about to retrieve the photograph and place the note in its place, at that very moment, she was surprised and accosted. The photograph taken from her, the note she'd written to me falling to the bottom of the cabinet, which was then hurriedly closed and thus remained unlocked.
If that is true, why has she vanished to America with her husband?
Has she?
It's all there in the note.
Written before she was abducted? No. I deduce that Miss Adler remains here, in London, under lock and key, a prisoner of her own home.
A prisoner of who?
Of her husband, of Mr. Godfrey Norton.
You think he is really not a lawyer?
I'm afraid he is that, and more. Here are his true initials, given to me by a careless maid.
J.L.
Open the
He's not
index,
Godfrey
Watson.
Norton at all.
Holmes, we don't have time to deal with this right now.
Watson, open the index. It all makes sense. The hurried wedding, the fear of the police.
Labyrinths, ladybugs, laplanders,
A name, Watson, we need a name. Last name L, first name J.
Larkin, LaRouche, Larrabee,
Larry, that's it, first name.
James.
That's it. Read the card, Watson.
Former legal counsel. Swindler, rake, confidence man of dubious morals.
That's him.
Turn the back over and read it.
See also,
Say it, Watson.
Moriarty.
So the marriage, the whole thing is a sham.
Yes, an ingenious one at that. With your wedding only a week away, that photograph is about to fetch an enormous sum.
And I'll pay it.
You'll do no such thing. We will use the power of the photograph to secure Miss Adler's freedom and capture her abductors.
You're speaking of using Miss Adler as bait.
I would never ask that of her.
Good.
You, sir, you are late. You must take a room here in London under your own name. Remain as visible as possible.
What are the plans for wedding?
It will only take a day or two, during which time we will root out an offer from Larrabee and trap Moriarty in the bargain.
Give the police the week they need and they will capture Moriarty for you.
I seek that pleasure for myself,
Why must you do this, Holmes?
because it is delightful. Don't you see, Watson? My entire life has been a frantic attempt to escape the dreary commonplace of existence.
But that is not the reason, and you know it. It is her. The woman, she has done this.
Nonsense!
The thick armor of your emotional defenses has finally been cracked.
Watson, I shall see you in the morning.
Your heart at last has overthrown your head. I met Holmes in the alley behind Briary Lodge. For his own safety, he moved through the city on this day disguised as a horse groom.
Good morning, Watson. Sleep well?
I did not, in fact.
Slept like a child. Some cold beef, a glass of beer, and off I went.
Well, once we are out of London and onto the continent, then I shall rest easier.
Now, Doctor, I shall want your cooperation. I hope you do not mind breaking the law.
Not in the least.
Excellent. Now, there's only one point on which I must insist. No matter what transpires, you must not interfere. You must do nothing whatsoever to come to my aid.
I am to remain neutral.
Excellent. You will take up a post outside of the sitting room window, which I will open once I have gained access to the house. When I raise my left hand, like so, you will throw this rocket into the room.
A rocket?
A smoke rocket. Nothing too formidable, with a cap at each end to make it self-lighting.
And I will throw this into the open window.
While at the same time raising the cry of fire. No doubt, your voice will be joined by many others, but you must not abandon your post at the window.
Certainly not.
Now, when I raise my right hand, like so, you are to blow this whistle.
A police whistle, isn't it?
Exactly. After blowing the whistle, you will proceed to the corner and wait for me there. Is that clear?
Stand by window, left for rocket, right for missile, walk to corner, wait for you.
Precisely.
I am the man for the job.
Good old Watson. You're the one fixed point in a changing age.
But how will you know where to look for the photograph?
The woman will tell me.
But if she is the captive, how will she speak?
She will tell me with her eyes.
And he was gone. After making certain that the key was safely enclosed at the hotel, I did precisely what Holmes had asked, placing myself beneath the window outside of Briary Lodge. Now, it was only as I waited outside that dark and forbidding home that I truly suspected the true danger of our situation. Suddenly, the window flew open, and this is what I saw.
This window, too, has bars on it, recently installed.
Oui, monsieur. It allows no one inside.
Nor out, I should think. By the looks of things, the previous owners must have left in a rush.
Oui, monsieur.
Criminals, no doubt.
Pardon?
The Nortons. They must have run afoul of the law.
Oh, no, monsieur. They were the newlyweds, left on the honeymoon in America, and never came back.
And they left you as their maid to mop a bathway. Speaking of which, you once lent me one of Mr. Norton's handkerchiefs. Do you remember?
Impossible.
It doesn't bear Mr. Norton's monogram. Instead, bore the initials J.L. Isn't that odd? Well, mustn't blame the maid for the ills of the master. I should like to see the kitchen and the rear garden.
Just get in here.
What I said, I ain't no safecracker. Dear pal Colvin, God rest his soul. He was a safecracker.
Just get in here and give it a try.
These were his tools, you know. This is his bag. My baby, what?
Yeah, it's fine, whatever.
And she said, spirit of old Colvin. It's still right in his bag.
The safe is right here.
The Sid Prince. I'm no safecracker. I'm a guns and conscience man. And I do a bit of gassing from time to time for the professor, because I'm his right-hand man.
Well, that's a good thing then. You should get your right hand working the safe. For my left is working your throat.
Would you look at the size of the monster? How about I just set some charges and blow her open?
You can't just blow up the safe.
Hear that, Colvin? He won't let me do what I does best. Just scatter dead things about. Why, hoity ho, he's here! Oh, Colvin's gonna help me crack it.
God's sake.
He's here, I tell you.
He's here.
What?
Sherlock Holmes. He's in the kitchen. Claims to be viewing the property.
Are you sure no one's got the combination to this monster?
No, my wife's the only one who has it.
And you can't get it out of it?
Take me to her room. I'll get it out of her.
Madge want none of that this time.
It's all I ever do, James, is clean up your messes. All you had to do was swindle a singer. But instead, you fall in love with her.
What down, would you?
You had it in your hands, right there, at the music cabinet. But she bats her operatic eyes at you, and you give it back to her.
She wanted one final look at it.
Mother was right. You're not worth a bucket of spit.
But once we get that safe open, we'll have that.
We don't even know what's in there.
It's got to be in there. We torn the house apart.
Moriarty will have your head for this, James.
This is not Moriarty's plan. This is my plan.
But I suppose the money's subject to the usual division.
You won't get a shilling out of me.
Come on. That's a girl. And we go.
Empty.
It's got to be in there.
I knew it.
But it's no.
Oh, shut up, Prince.
I'll deal with your bride. You deal with Holmes.
No, Madge.
What's that you say?
You must intercept him.
Cut me up, Knoxville. I hope to God you didn't say.
Holmes! Sherlock Holmes! He's in the bloody garden!
Yes, the garden does require a bit of attention, but everything else seems to be in order.
The house, Mr. Holmes, is not for sale.
You seem to know my name.
Well, of course, who doesn't?
I do not know yours.
Norton, Godfrey Norton. My sister Margaret and my associate Mr.
Abernathy. Dr. Abernathy.
Pleasure.
Now, if I might
You are to have my congratulations, Mr. Norton.
Oh, pardon?
You are a newlywed, are you not? Your sister told me that.
Did she now?
Although she failed to mention the fact that she was your sister. In fact, she claimed to be your maid.
Yes, well,
I
you
simply
see.
let you draw your own conclusions.
She also said you were away to America.
Just back this morning.
And your wife?
Still there. I shall rejoin her in a fortnight.
Oh, she's quite the diva.
Really? When did you hear that?
From your neighbors. In fact, they heard her singing last night, her voice ringing true and clear from an upstairs window.
You don't miss a thing, do you?
Occupational hazard.
Think of it. The great Sherlock Holmes, here in our house, poking about for clues.
On the contrary, the truth is always out in the open.
I expected more, frankly, from a legend such as yourself.
That's enough now.
Yeah, you'd think a master detective would have more parlor tricks up his sleeve. Mr. Holmes?
Sorry to disappoint you, Mr. Larry. And this must be Madge. It was Antwerp, I believe, where last I saw you. I remember your fondness for Belgian chocolates and German soldiers. And as for Mr. Sidney Reginald Prince, I should be pleased to reunite you with your former colleague, Mr. Colvin.
Now look here, Mr.
Oh,
Holmes.
I have in fact looked here. And here. And it is my inevitable conclusion that there has been in this house an event of malevolent intent.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
I wish to speak to your wife, Mr. Larrabee.
She's away, I told you that.
Well, then why is her luggage here? Empty and unpacked.
Yes, well, that's
That proves nothing.
I will not leave until I speak with her.
I'll tell my dear sister-in-law that you're here.
Have you ever been to Bohemia, Mr. Larrabee? Wonderful country. I'm sure you'd enjoy their king. Your wife certainly did. The two of them with a very picture of love. The king is to be married, you know, at a castle in Switzerland. Sure, it will be a lovely wedding and not so nearly rushed as your own.
What do you mean by that?
The Church of St. Monica's and drive like the devil.
You with then?
Here we are.
My dear sister-in-law tells me you wish to speak to me.
For a moment, Miss Adler, if I may.
My name is Mrs. Norton.
As you wish.
You look tired, Mr. Holmes. You must take care not to end up an old man before your time.
Heaven
Some
forbid.
doddering old fellow, like the good Father Hanson.
Kindly old Father Hans. It was him.
And what of me, Mr. Holmes? Does marriage agree with me?
I regret to say that it does not. However, you are no longer married.
How's that?
What do you mean? Been to the Hall of Records and renounced my signature. You therefore had no witness at your wedding, no witness, no marriage.
James, you idiot.
As for your health, Miss Adler, you look pale, as though you haven't left this house in days.
It's true, I have not.
And why is that?
Because, Mr. Holmes, everything I shall ever need is right here.
Of that, my dear lady, I have no doubt.
Fire!
Save yourself!
Save yourself! Such good advice, Mr. Holmes. And yet, how rare the man who was able to do so.
How rare indeed. A pleasure, Professor. Though not a surprise to find you here. I've been meaning to compliment you on the dynamics of an asteroid.
Elementary at best.
I was particularly struck by your theory on the change in the obliquity of the ecliptic.
It is at present an incomplete hypothesis.
Well, perhaps you can finish your work in prison.
No, I think not. It's a dangerous habit, Mr. Holmes.
And what is that?
It's a finger-loaded firearms in the pocket of one's coat.
Dangerous as well to hold a free hand behind one's back.
You think you can read me like a book?
Like a primer. Here we are.
To be clear, Mr. Holmes, I shall never be captured.
Oh, not only will you be captured, but I will be the one that testifies against you.
Impossible.
Although I realize what an awkward position that puts you in.
And what position is that?
The one usually assumed by a criminal at the lower end of a road. Now, what brings you to Bryony Lodge, Professor?
The lady of the house, of course. Our dear Irene once belonged to the King of Bohemia. Then to Mr. Lavin. Or Mr. Norton, if you prefer.
This woman is an artist, Professor, and as such she belongs to no one man. She belongs to everyone, the whole of London.
Which means she now belongs to me.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Professor.
I was simply reaching for my notebook.
My dear lady, I wish to spare the Professor any undue exertion if you would be so kind as to help him remove something from his inside left coat pocket.
Is this the item he's looking for?
Undoubtedly. Now, if you would just place it there on the table. Just another inch. One more inch. If you don't mind. Now, shall we see if he has another?
He's already informed us that he does not.
Really? And when was that?
When he reached for that one?
Precisely. Now, Professor, is there anything more this good woman can do for you?
You have a great deal to answer for, Mr. Holmes. You crossed my path on the 4th of January. On the 23rd, you incommoded me. And now, at the close of April, you have tricked and betrayed and put me in a position of continual persecution. The cumulative effect which is the eminent loss of my personal liberty.
Have you a suggestion to make?
There can be but one outcome to this affair between us.
And that would be?
Inevitable destruction.
By which you mean the inevitable destruction of you.
No, you won't live to see that day, Mr. Holmes.
Then may I live to see no other. For if I could be assured of your destruction, I would gladly welcome a similar fate.
Well, it certainly can be arranged.
Mr. Holmes!
What the devil?
Look at that. I didn't think that you'd want to use that thing again, so I took the pleasure of removing the cartridges. Here, you're welcome to them.
There's no fire to be
Not
found.
It's likely, Mr. out of the house.
Right you are, Madge. And it appears that Larrabee's new bride will reveal her secret to no one. Not even Mr. Holmes. Therefore, we must provide some incentive.
No, please, wait!
There's no need! She's fighting with obituaries. Is that true?
Impossible!
She never said a word.
She didn't have to.
There it is!
Now, photograph will be returned to its rightful owner, and this terrible episode will be put to an end.
Which shall be at an end, Mr. Holmes. It is you.
Well, I should plug in one, Captain.
Not just yet.
Well, at least get your hands in the air. And the other one,
What was that?
you heard me, get your right hand in the air.
As you wish.
How come in, Princess?
The police! Are they right outside?
Indeed they are.
You may leave, Mr. Holmes. But you will not be taking that photograph.
I had no intention of doing so. Its rightful owner is here.
He's giving it back to her!
You can't be serious!
Holmes, I...
Go now. You have nothing to fear.
You surprise me, Holmes. I was under the impression that you actually care for that woman. Why then would you entreat her to leave the one place in London where she is safe? Out the back! Follow me! I sat with your dear Irene earlier today on her bed, our hands intertwined. And as I wiped a tear from her cheek, she spoke of you. If only I had not deceived Mr. Holmes. Perhaps then he would come to my aid and protect me.
That, Professor, is exactly what I have done.
What you have done, Mr. Holmes, is send the woman you love to her death.